Yeah, last week we learned that the self in the microcosm, the one hidden in our hearts, is same as the self in the macrocosm, who is also the knower of the first manifestation even before all the five elements were born. Now, part 2, Canto 1, verse 8. The god of fire, Agni, hidden between two fire sticks, like a child well protected in the mother's womb, whom we adore every day in the depths of meditation, is the self indeed, for this self is supreme. That which is the source of the sun and of every power in the cosmos, beyond which there is neither going nor coming, is the self indeed, for this self is supreme. In Vedic era, fire was kindled by rubbing two sticks. That's how the Vedic sacrifices, the fire for the Vedic sacrifices so was got. Here, fire refers to the one that enables light, which makes everything visible. So that is protected, just like how fetus is protected in a mother's womb, and it is the same self whom we adore in our meditation. And the self is the source of the sun and of all every power in the cosmos, and beyond it there is nothing. Verse 10. What is here is also there. What is there also here. Who sees multiplicity but not the one indivisible self must wander on and on from death to death. Only the one pointed mind attains the state of unity. There is no one but the self. Who sees multiplicity but not the one indivisible self must wander on and on from death to death. So, what is in the visible world is also in the invisible world. There is no difference between the creator and the created. The one who sees difference gets in the cycle of birth and death. And to be able to know this knowledge, that there is no difference between the visible and the invisible world, one has to have one pointed mind or pure mind, using which you can know that there is no difference. And when one is drawn, clings to the external perishable forms, then he would fail to look at it. Verse 12. That thumb-sized being enshrined in the heart, ruler of time, past and future, to see whom is to go beyond all fear, is the self indeed, for this self is supreme. That thumb-sized being, a flame without smoke, ruler of time, past and future, the same one on this day has on tomorrow, is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. Just like how a light from a thumb-sized flame illumines the whole space, makes everything visible. Similarly, in our heart is the thumb-sized self, like a fire with no smoke, which is limitless and is all-pervading. Knowing the self, one goes beyond all fear, and self is the ruler of past and future, and it is the same as today and tomorrow. Verse 14. As the rain on a mountain peak runs off the slopes on all sides, so those who see only the seeming multiplicity of life run after things on every side. As pure water poured into pure water becomes this very same, so does the self of an illumined man or woman, Nachiketa, verily becomes the one with the Godhead. Just like how when it rains on the mountain peak, it runs in all sides. Similarly, the one who sees multiplicity or who desires the external variations goes in the cycle of life and death. But a illumined master who sees himself in everything, who doesn't see any difference, he just like how a pure water when poured with water becomes one, similarly he becomes one with the self. Canto 2 verse 1. There is a city with 11 gates, of which the ruler is the unborn self, whose light forever shines. They go beyond sorrow who meditate on the self and are freed from the cycle of birth and death, for this self is supreme. The self is the sun shining in the sky, the wind blowing in space. He is the fire at the altar and in the home the guest. He dwells in human beings, in gods, in truth, and in vast firmament. He is the fish born in water, the plant growing in the earth, the river flowing down from the mountain, for the self is supreme. Human body has 11 openings. So Yama says, human body is a city of 11 gates whose ruler is the unborn self. When one meditates or puts all his, who constantly puts his thought on the self, then he frees himself from the cycle of birth and death. And it is the self who is dwelling in the sun, who is the sun dwelling in the sky, is the wind dwelling in the space, is the fire in the altar, he is the guest in the home, he is in all human beings, in water, in every plant on earth, and he is all that is. Verse 3. The adorable one who is seated in the heart rules the breath of life. Unto him all the senses pay their homage. When the dweller in the body breaks out in freedom from the bonds of flesh, what remains for this self is supreme. We live not by the breath that flows in and flows out, but by him who causes the breath to flow in and flow out. Yama says that it is the self who sends the incoming breath and throws the outgoing breath out. It is the one which remains when this body dies. And it is because of him we live, because of the not because of the breath, but because of the cause of the breath, which is the self. We'll stop here in verse 5. In today's reading, my key takeaways were that there's no difference between visible and invisible world, between the created and the creator. So if we stop having differences start seeing difference between what is manifested and what is yet to be manifested, would help us in being in this process of being one with the self. Thank you, Masters. Thank you for this opportunity. It's your time to share your takeaways, your wisdom, experiences, or questions. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions or if you want to share anything. Thank you. Thank you, Masters. If we have no sharings, then let's close this session and meet again for our evening meditation at 6 p.m. Germany time. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day.